right, y'all. So let's go ahead and get into Daniel's chapter 3, the breakdown. As always, we're going to start with the chapter context. This one's going to be long, so get ready for two parts. So, the first chapter of Daniel explained how four captive Israelite boys became respected advisors to a Babylonian king. Chapter 2 showed these men praying for divine wisdom to untangle the same king's dream. These events set the stage for this chapter and the most famous trio of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. The men refuse to bow to an idol and are rescued from fiery death by God. This is the last mention of these men in scripture as focus shifts back to Babylon's kings and the prophets and the prophet Daniel. So let's go ahead and jump into the breakdown part one. So Daniel, Hananiah, and Mishael and Azariah were among those captive from Judah to serve the king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar, Daniel's 1 1 through 6. They were given Babylonian names Belteshazzar, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, Daniel's 1 7. After God intervened and revealed the king's dream through Daniel 2 17 through 20, the Hebrews were given promotions, Daniel 2 46 through 49. Whoa, I went up too far. Okay. Chapter 3 contains a famous story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and their rescue from a blazing furnace. This is part of the Old Testament recording in Aramaic rather than Hebrew. Daniel's 2 4 through 7:28, emphasizing its relevance to non-Jewish nations of the world. The passage is filled with obvious repetition. This seems to be a poetic reference to the what bureaucratic, overbearing, okay, whatever, overbearing nature of Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom. Daniel exactly Daniel exactly repeats the roster of government officials. Daniel's 3 2 through 3. Give names list of instruments 4 times. Daniel's 3 5. Daniel 7. Daniel's 10. Daniel 15. Describes the execution device as a burning fiery furnace 8 times. Daniel's 3 6, 11, 15, 17, 20, 21, 23, and 26. And refers to the three Hebrew men with the exact phrase Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego 13 times. Daniel's 3 12, 13, 14, 16, 19, 20, 22, 23, 26, 28, 29, and 30. In Nebuchadnezzar's dream, he saw a golden head representing himself as the leader of Babylon. Daniel's 2:36 to 38. This may have inspired him to commission the object at the center of the chapter's events. He commands the building of a large golden idol. This might have been a statue or an obelisk or some other shape. The king calls representatives from government officials all over Babylon to participate in the idol's introduction. Daniel's 3 1 through 2. The king commands all those in attendance to bow and worship this image upon hearing a certain musical cue. Hold on, my phone about to die. Okay, there we go. What else? The list of instruments seems to imply a wide variety of styles. Likewise, the assembled officials represent their varied territories and people. Babylon's conquering influence extended over many regions and cultures. The control demanded obedience, so the king threatens a gruesome death to anyone who disobeys this order. Daniel 3 3 through 7. Loyalty and submission were likely the main purpose of this golden idol. In Babylonian society, there were many gods. The idea of worshiping more than one deity was considered normal. By creating this image, Nebuchadnezzar was probably proclaiming Babylon, and its God as supreme over all others. For most people in the area, submitting to his command would have been well within their religious convictions. Those advisors who survived Nebuchadnezzar's wrath over his dream, Daniel's 2 8 through 16, might have been jealous of the Hebrews who were rewarded. A group from the Chaldeans or astrologers accused Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego of disobeying the king's command. This is described as malicious by a phrase implying spite or ill intent. The complaint is not inspired by loyalty to the king, but by pure hatred for the Jews. It is entirely possible the accusers had no idea whether their accusations was true, but merely hoped to harass the three men or see if the king's short temper would take over. Daniel 3:8-12. Daniel is notably absent from this incident. Commentators, speculate that he was away on business and was not called to the ceremony. It's also possible that Daniel was considered too powerful and too popular within the kings to threaten at this time. Given his history, Daniel 1:8-16, and future choices, Daniel 6, there was no question that if Daniel was there, he likewise refused to commit idolatry. Daniel's absence or the accuser's cowardice are the most likely reason he is not a part of this story. Hold on. It's possible Nebuchadnezzar was still suspicious of his advisors, Daniel's 2:8-11. Despite being furious, he asks the three Hebrew men if the charges are true. At the same time, he provides a way for them to prove their loyalty through obedience. Most likely, the king intended to command the musical signal at once so they could bow before the idol. He also gloats about his own power, suggesting that no being, even a divine one, could save them if they refused. Daniel 3:13-15. Boy, was he sadly mistaken. Whether their accusation was invented or not, the three Hebrew men tell the king not to bother with his test. They have not worshipped the idol, and they will not worship it, even if it means their own death. Instead of fear of Nebuchadnezzar, they express trust in their God. Period. Their Lord can save them, but even if they die, they will continue to obey him instead of a pagan king. Come on now. Daniel 3:16-18. Nebuchadnezzar was already angry. Now his rage boils over into a royal temper tantrum. That's hilarious. He issues a series of irrational commands, all in a spiteful attempt to prove his power over those who dared defy him. The furnace in question was probably a lime kiln, KILM, an earthen structure with a partially open top and a hole on one side. This is to be superheated, though a normal kiln would be more than hot enough to kill. The three men are thrown in immediately, not waiting to have their ceremonial clothes removed. They are to be tied up despite that being unnecessary. The orders are so absurd and so urgent that the soldiers pushing the three men in the furnace are themselves killed. Daniel 3:19-23. A minority of scholars suggest that what happens next is a vision, that Nebuchadnezzar was not looking into the flames but spiritually perceiving something that made him call out. In context, it seems much more likely that he took a seat where he could look into the furnace, probably through the side opening. But as soon as he does so, he stands up in shock. He questions his advisors. His question to his advisors is much like asking, "Am I seeing things? Do you see what I see?" Only 3 bodies went into the flame, but the king sees 4 men. Come on now. One of those has an overtly supernatural appearance. Nebuchadnezzar's comment is best translated as seeing something like a son of the gods. This might have been Archangel Michael, Daniel's 10:13 and 12:1, or even a pre-incarnated Jesus, Daniel 3:24-25. Come back for part 2.